Hello and welcome, I'm Q, and this is something different. I've just came from playing my first hour of For the King 2, a brand new release that just came out on Xbox, and honestly, I just want to give my brief views and thoughts on the game from my brief experience. I think we should begin with the intro cutscene. Gives you a lovely little summary of the previous game. A little bit of improvements, give you a bit more information about what had happened from the previous game. Lovely, cannot complain with it. No complaints. Art style, beautiful, and I mean it. I've not seen in a long time an art style that feels so perfectly fitting for a follow-up in a series, but also such a blatant improvement at the same time. Amazing, I love it. Truly, lovely. Along with seeing our most likely antagonist of this game. Then, next up, we get into the main menu with a vastly more cozy little inn. I truly love this little inn design rather than the old view where it was just, a little bit of a view. It was okay, it was still nice, but For the King 2 is definitely a massive improvement. I loved that. Though, I feel like the first place we need to go to is the lore store because that was where the gameplay loop thrived. Having the cycle of play a game, unlock lore books, go to lore store, buy new things, get more things in game, keep playing and cycling that. Phenomenal. I love that cycle. I don't want to say addictive because it sounds bad, but it was a really fun cycle I enjoyed going through. That was brilliant. Also that iconic music just slowly in the background. Beautiful. Speaking of the lore store, there are brand new characters. As you can see from the first press, you've got your standards from before, but the stable hand. And correct me if I was wrong, I don't think there was this many characters before. I don't think there was 13 characters in For the King 1. This is coming from an Xbox console player's perspective. I believe PC may have had a few extra characters. But for the console player, this is newest, most amount of characters we've ever had, which is lovely. Next up, we will also see a few things. As you can see on the top for different tabs, there's A loadout tab, B a traits tab, and C a mercenary tab. We'll look into them very briefly, in that order actually. Firstly, this is the loadouts menu. This is a brand new part of the character creation part of the game. After you create your character, you get about 5 tokens base, I believe, where you can use this to buy things. As you can see, this can be like just tender pouches, lockpicks, god spears, like shields, weapons. Quite a few items because, gloves with a crit chance of 10% is kind of insane. They're like 2 points. There's a lot of options you've got, and you can buy a lot more, so I feel like that's going to be brilliant for character creation, though we'll get into that more later. Lovely, I love the idea of loadouts though, cannot deny. Next up is traits, which, to be honest, not really worth me mentioning. The traits are here, but as you can see, I don't have any traits yet. So I'm going to assume this is going to work similar to like the herbalist's heal, like as a party skill, or the ability for them to just herb gather. I'm going to assume you could like allocate traits to people. I'm not 100% certain yet. But this seems like a fun idea. I'll be interested to see how it goes. Now, the mercenaries. This is an interesting little tab. Because you've got just 6 to start with, different classes, different standards, they all have got different abilities. You've got like a healer, bomber, guns, You can hire them in town for gold, and you seem to get them for so many rounds. So they're probably going to be really useful for clearing out like camps, maybe dungeons. If you need a little bit extra help in combat, they seem like they're probably going to be really useful. So I do like it. I've not really used them, but they seem like a good idea that I do quite like the idea of in concept. Continuing to the campaign selection screen, this I love. This is a beautiful map, love the design of it. Currently you can see it has 5 chapters, are soon to be locked through progression. You complete chapter 1 to lock 2, etc. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I need to actually play through it more to understand that. But I do like the idea of this. The map I do kind of like. And the fact we also have a Dark Carnival mode, that seems to just be a horde game mode. So you can look at it, it seems to just be a horde mode, just never ending one, similar to the dungeons before. For the floor clear, brilliant. Though you can see the adventure challenges down at the bottom. Challenges must be complete in a single run, but those seem like they'll be an interesting thing. And they're also true on these ones as well, where you've got the challenges, so completing it in less than 50 rounds, killing people, and the alchemist. Honestly, I'm not quite sure what the rewards are, but that's going to be interesting anyway. I do like the idea of having challenges to do even more in a quest line. More personality, lovely, feels brilliant. Next up, the character creator screen, which honestly is definitely interesting. It feels very similar to the original, however there are now drop down boxes as well for things. So if I go into species as a drop down box, I like this because when you get to the end game and you've got like 20 items, this will be so much smoother to scroll through than just doing right, till you eventually get the one you need. That I love. The fact you're allowed presets, so I can just immediately change this hunter to a new preset. Just lovely, brilliant idea, that is phenomenal, beautiful, definitely should have had that. But you may have noticed also, this is not just 3-player anymore, this is 4-player. They've added a whole new character slot, so no longer can you just play as a 3-player squad. You can group up as a 4-man for this now to play with your friends, which is brilliant. Though we'll get to more about that anyway. Though one problem in my opinion is I do not understand why I can no longer invite my friends during this character creation section. And for the King 1, I can invite my friends, and player 2 could create player 2's character, player 3 could create player's 3 character, and you felt like you were making your own hero, and you could build your whole team at the same time, like work with. That was a lovely little preset up start of the game that I don't know why got taken out. Like, why as the host do I need to make every single one of the all 4 characters? That was a little bit disappointing. I really wish you could invite your friends in this screen, so you can have your friends create their own character, because it just felt more personal having your own hero. I don't know if I'm alone in that. I imagine this would hopefully be quite easy to fix. I hope you can get something like that, but following on, you think that would be all. This mechanic also gets a little bit worse because once you finish this section, next up is the loadout screen, which makes this even worse because now at this point I could got a massive list for every single character of the list of items they could get, which some characters will want different things. Now personally, if I was to play the tank, I may want say a shield and say light boots. Some other people might for example want a weapon though. So it feels a bit annoying how I'm going to have to now, say if I'm doing this as a 4-player game, I'm going to make my own character, then you ask player 2 what things they want out of the list. Bear in mind some of these things are apparently random generated. You do not have every single one of these apparently at all times. So you could have different things. So I need to read out the list, get the player 2 to select what they want from this list, then do the same for player 3, then player 4. You're not allowed to double stack items, only one person can get a god spear. Later on there might be 2 or 3 so I can then split them out more, but this personally I do not like. It's a little bit I feel annoying. I don't Though I will admit, this does feel like a brilliant in general concept. The idea of loadouts I love. The idea of having extra personalization on my characters lets me have a little bit more like creativity for the starting. I feel like this is actually really good for just adding extra things to it, for the personalization. But as I said, the new mechanic does feel like a little bit of a step back because my friends, for example player 2 cannot make their own character. This now becomes very tedious as player 1, as the host of a lobby, you need to make every single character, then you need to go through every single character individually to make their loadouts, discuss with people, then you can finally start. But why do I need to do all 4 characters so I could just have 4 friends and, well, 3 other people in the lobby and they do their own characters and we'll be ready so much faster? Just a little thing. Teach their own, I can deal with this. We'll just start anyway though. Though I will also admit, the first thing I noticed loading into the world map right here as soon as I've gotten into it Oh my god, does the world map look amazing? This is such an improvement. It feels perfectly faithful to the original, but my god, this map is beautiful. It cannot be understated. Not mention the detail on like the trees, the rocks, the pig farm, the logs on the street, the random house. The detail of the random things for extra personalization on the map, lovely, beautiful. That is undeniably a huge improvement. This I love, undeniably. Even looking at the roads, the difference between the dirt road and the actual cobblestone road, where it's just stone plate. Beautiful. Map looks lovely, phenomenal. Next up, I will admit, grouping up with friends, because I have mentioned multiplayer a few times, to actually get into multiplayer. Now at this point, you would invite your friends. Once your friends join, there'll be a party management tab. I can't show this now, but I do have spare footage of this, so I will show it over this. You'll then get your spare part, you need to invite people. You'll get a little message in the top right corner saying player has joined. You then go into party management, you need to then go onto the characters, so say character 2, scroll through to player 2, then do the same for character 3 and character 4 for if they're go player 3 and player 4, to then get it. It's a little bit awkward, it feels like it could have... I personally preferred the old system where it's just press A on the start screen and you go, first person to press A was character 1, second person to press A was character 2, third person to press A was character 3. I felt like that was just a smoother way of doing this. It feels like this has been the opposite of streamlined, and if you just cut out a few steps, this would be just as streamlined and smooth as before, but it just feels a little almost janky in a way. First up, I think we should discuss combat, because combat is a really interesting change. If we go into the world map, combat map now, you'll see very quickly and immediately. Here's the meat and bone of the games, which I think you'll immediately notice, this is a completely different system. This is a 2x4 grid system. We never had grid systems before like this. Which actually has a lot more creativity. This actually is a huge thing where I love it personally. Because this is the meat and bones of the game. You'll be spending most of your time in here, and they have massively made more in-depth combat system that I love. There are some important notes. For example, only ranged people can attack from the back line. If you're melee, you have to be in the front line. The back line, you do also get some bonuses. I think it said on a loading screen you get an evasion buff of 5, I think, on the back line, which is probably quite nice as well. So there seems to be a little bit of options, seeing as only ranged people attack from the back, you get some bonuses. You'll notice there's primary and secondary actions, so if I really wanted to, I can move with my character a slot. For as a secondary action, then I can go and attack. But also things like equipping a weapon are a primary action. And you just get turns, things like that as before. Phenomenal, just as before. Even got a passive ability there for a lucky critical. Wow, okay, that was unexpected. Though, there's other things of the diversity. I feel like you got a lot more diversity because there's things like knockback, things like that. Some characters actually have an area effect now. Loading into a bigger fight that I'm deliberately kind of trying to lose, and you'll see, there's cover on the map, which gives you better defensive bonuses, I believe, or a better chance to dodge. You'll also see that the map is now, there's some attacks that attack more than one square. Area attacks are like patterned maps, like a Tetris piece. So you actually have a lot more control when you're attacking, which I love the idea of. And when the sorcerer gets an attack, you'll really see it on him. Yeah. So you can see I can now, if I do the area blast, it hits everything in the area. I love the idea of how area moves have changed. That is phenomenal. I love the extra diversity and choice you get with doing that. Beautiful. Though I think there's also some moves that have things like knockback, which makes you even better. You can do things like taunting as a secondary action, so taunting seems a lot more buffed in this game. I've not really tried it, but since that's a secondary action, you can still attack after taunting. That seems really cool. Lots of things in the combat that I think are a huge improvement. Though there is one problem, in co-op online, no matter what, If you get unlucky and your character desyncs at any point for the combat cycle for what order characters go, you will softlock your game temporarily. You'll need to reset the game. We were not able to get through a single full round of combat in co-op before we got the softlock. It would tell me as player 1 it was player 4's turn, and it would tell everyone else it was me as player 1's turn. I think there was a temporary fix, but this glitch should still continue, it would continue softlocking in the middle of combat. This was rather annoying. Apparently it's been an issue on PC when the game first came out. So they've reintroduced this bug for console's release, which is really unfortunate because this has hugely tainted the release. We, my friends, had set up for a few days. We all had this set up to play day one. As soon as the game came out, all players were grouped together. We had planned this for a couple days, and then for this to have failed pretty much 20 minutes in because we were not able to fight a single group of enemies, this was very disappointing, I must admit. So here I am, an hour after gameplay, 2 hours of script writing later, and honestly, I do not have much more to say than I am disappointed. And I say that out of love. I love this company. For the King 1 was a brilliant game. I want this series and the devs to be successful. However, for a game that's been out a year on PC, you've had this glitch before, you've known about this glitch before. I don't know how you reintroduced this glitch for the console release. This has been... Now yes, you can play single player, yes you can play solo, but this is a game where it is just so much fun to play with friends. We had the plan set up to play as a group of friends on day, and we were told no because of this one glitch or bug, whatever you want to call it. And it feels like it just has been due to a lack of testing. If you had tested as a group for in the closed testing phase, surely this should have been picked up and patched. I'm almost a little baffled this hasn't been. And I'm not trying to be mean, I say this out of love. I want the game to do well because I loved For the King 1. I want a brilliant sequel. I see such beautiful potential. There are so many new mechanics that are honestly brilliant additions. There are so many new layers to the game. This is what you should do with a sequel. You have genuinely improved and added many new layers, new mechanics. Lovely. However, even things like the UI for connecting to multiplayer, this has been out for a year and the UI feels clunky, it doesn't feel finished. Now I think with no coding experience, the UI is an easy fix and you could probably do a lot of these without too much issues. Again, I have no coding experience so I could be completely wrong, this might be a nightmare, that's why they haven't done it. Or maybe there's more pressing issues, I could understand right now. But I feel like if you just do a couple of UI improvements along with actually making this co-op viable, this will be an amazing experience, and when this is actually playable, I will be spending tens if not hundreds of hours in this game with friends. I can't yet, but one day, hopefully I will. Now, this has definitely been something different than what I either expected or wanted to give you. This has been a brief review, summary, or maybe even critique if you will. I do hope this can get the love and attention it deserves because I do love this game. It is a phenomenal game. Truly. Hopefully it gets there one day, and when it does, I am highly sure this will be making a return to the channel. But until then, this has been For the King 2. I've been Q. Thank you for joining me. Take care and enjoy.